mission resulted in the death of 12 Navy SEALs.
Lieutenant Commander James Reese, can you outline the details of your mission?
They knew we were coming.
According to audio logs, you went dark on comms roughly 4 mics in. Why?
That's not how it went down.
I cannot wait for this series. And it premieres on Amazon Prime July 1st. Welcome back to the program. Joining me now, my friend, retired Navy SEAL, best-selling author. Congratulations, by the way. And we're going to talk about your latest in your series, Jack Carr, everybody. And you can see him on Twitter at Jack Carr USA. Find him on Instagram and elsewhere. So the series is The Terminal List. So this is the first book in his series on Commander James Reese. And then his new book, which just dropped, is In the Blood. And so I'm just so excited. I haven't gotten to In the Blood yet, but I am so excited about this. And it doesn't matter if people are into like, whether it's like, I don't know, like war movies. I've had some people say, well, is it, asking like, what's something comparable to it? Because the action is so amazing. You write what you know, and you clearly know this so well that we are in every action sequence. The dialogue is realistic. It's like what people would actually say if they are, hell is raining down on them. So congratulations on all of this. I'm so excited for this series. Terminal List is the first one. Chris Pratt stars. First question, are there plans to continue this and make a new series out of every book?
Well, we shall see. So
that's not an answer.
Chris FaceTimed me the other day and wanted to talk about just that. So he's excited to do it, I know. And he's actually excited for the latest book. He said it's his favorite one so far for In the Blood. Mm-hmm. So he's like, maybe we should do that one next. So
that's
we'll
awesome.
see.
I'm on Savage Son right now. So Terminal List came out in 2018. Then you had True Believer. That was 2019. You write, and these are not, can I just show people? These are not like little books. I mean, they're action-packed, great character development because James Reese it's like, he reminds me of Charles Bronson, reminds me of Michael Douglas's character in Falling Down. He is just, he is a brawl. He is a one-man bar brawl, and he is going to just beat the snot out of you. And I love it, but he's also vulnerable too. He's just a great character. Devil's Hand, that came out 2021, and now you have In the Blood. So I can't wait to see all of this come in. So I need to catch up to get to In the Blood. But this is such a great series. Tell me, when you started writing, because clearly you obviously are very talented at it. And I read an interview that you had given where you were discussing your military service, Navy SEAL, and you've fought in Iraq and in Afghanistan. Did you always want to write? How did that factor into, where did you think that was going to happen, and when and how?
I did, and I looked at serving the military and writing as two distinctly separate parts of my life, and I didn't know how closely they would be related and complement one another as I moved from one into the other. But I grew up reading, surrounded by books. My mom was a librarian. My grandfather was killed in World War II, so I had this desire to serve my country in uniform. I think it was just innate in me. But then seeing the pictures of him with his squadron as a Marine Corps aviator in World War II, his medals, his wings, all those sort of things, just kind of sparked in me this desire, like, hey, it can be done. You can do anything you want in this country. And my grandfather sacrificed himself along with so many others so that we can make our own decisions and take advantage of these options and opportunities that are available to us as Americans. So that was just in me. So I was going to serve for sure. But in the early 80s, there was only so much reading you could do on special operations and SEALs in general, because you had to go to the library, you had to put in the effort, you had to do the research, you had to pull the book off the shelf or find the newspaper article or the magazine article, and then go through it for maybe the one sentence mention on SEALs, the one paragraph on special operations, typically in about Vietnam at that time. So after I exhausted the library on that, then about 5th grade, I started reading the same books my parents were reading. So books by Tom Clancy and Nelson DeMille and David Morrell and A.J. Quinnell and J.C. Pollock and Mark Olden and all these guys who had protagonists with backgrounds I wanted in real life, because I thought, look at these authors. Look, David Morrell, he created Rambo. Well, he probably did some research for this book, The Brotherhood of the Rose, about special operations and the CIA that I can incorporate into my foundation as I move forward here in my desire to serve and be a SEAL. Yeah. So I was reading these books, and there's just this magic about them. And I knew that one day after my time in the military, I would write these kind of novels. But what I was really doing, although I didn't know it, was giving myself an early education in the art of storytelling.
Yeah.
So the study of warfare, reading these books, and then the practical application of warfare in Afghanistan and Iraq all kind of came together at the right time and place as I was leaving the military. And the Terminal List is the result. And you held up the first one, but this one is a new cover.
I saw.
Yeah, so they turned this one into this one with Chris Pratt on the cover, and I wrote a new foreword in this where I talk about how the movie came, or how the series came to be, how the book came to be, and then I'll give you an exclusive right here. There are some exclusive photos from the set, and that are only in the book, and so here's one of them. So.
Oh my gosh, this is awesome! I'm so excited about this, and for those of you listening, you got
so exclusive just for you.
That's awesome. He just showed you got to get the book because he showed a really cool picture of Chris Pratt, like all decked out, getting ready to rock as James Reese, talking to my friend Jack Carr, whose latest book, In the Blood, in the Terminal List series, well, the James Reese series, Terminal List is the first book. Excuse me. When I was reading about the announcement of this, because Antoine Fuqua, I love his work. I've seen a lot of the stuff that he did. I think one of my favorites was Magnificent Seven, because Denzel Washington is one of my favorite actors of all time. And I just thought that was so well done. And when I heard that Fuqua was doing this series, I got really excited, because that, to me, it just means that it's going to be very artfully done, cinematically beautiful, and real and raw, because that's what this series is. And what I like about your series, and I want to dive into this a little bit, because it's not just, In the Blood is the latest, but with James Reese, he's, kind of a Lone Ranger, so to speak. He's settling scores in a way that I think a lot of people, when they go through something as tragic as he has done, not just with, I don't want to give too much away, but with family, and then with, obviously his platoon, you wish that you could settle scores in a way that James Reese does. And I wanted to talk with, how far did you want to go with this character, and how far did you want to go in showing the reality of your experience, and then what Reese could do?
I didn't really realize, I thought I was just going to write a good story. I thought that with all the reading that I'd done and my experience, that I would be able to do that. And that's what I owed the reader who's trusting me with their time, that they're never going to get back, is I have to do the best possible job. That product has to be the best it can possibly be. I started writing that first one, it became clear from the first sentence, not from the outline, not from the one-page executive summary, not from the title, but when I actually started typing that first chapter, that this was going to be a much more personal writing experience than I thought at the outset. I thought, okay, I'll get the sniper weapon stuff right. If I don't know something about a weapon system, I know who to call to make sure that I get those things right. But I didn't realize just how much emotion and feeling I would be bringing in from events downrange. So let's say my character gets ambushed in Los Angeles, California. Well, I go back and remember what it was like to be ambushed in Baghdad, Iraq in 2006, and I take those feelings and emotions and then I apply them to a fictional narrative.
You feel it.
Oh, thank you.
I was reading it. When I started reading this, I'm like, oh my gosh. I kind of knew you were a badass anyway. For people who don't know, I've done some training with you. And you go into that range mode. So we all knew you were a badass anyway, but in reading this and all of these situations that he finds himself in, and then the sense of betrayal, which gets me to some of the things that maybe aren't so much the mechanics of battle, but the reality of the system and the system in which you have to operate. You don't pull any punches, in a very honest assessment through the eyes of Reese. Some people have kind of criticized it. I like the honest reality of it. And I know a lot of people have been like, it is like that. And I like that he didn't try to hide it to sell books. Talk to me a little bit about that. Were you afraid in the very beginning to be that honest about it?
No, I was. I didn't know how else to be. I don't know any other way to be. So it's just me. But I did think a couple times about, everybody always goes back to the Michael Jordan quote about, hey, Republicans and Democrats buy shoes. And maybe that was true when he was selling his shoes. He still sells a ton of shoes, but maybe that was true when he was building that foundation back in the day. But when you're talking about something that is so personal, it's not a shoe. Shoes are great, but this is not a shoe. And when you're doing something that's so personal, that's more art, whether it's a painting or a sculpture or a book, and you're putting so much of yourself into it, people want to really know, is this you? Is this authentic? Is this real? Especially today, because maybe they couldn't find out in 1985.
Yeah.
They just guess. But today they can, because they can engage with you on social channels, they can listen to us on radio, they can watch us on a podcast or whatever it might be, and they can really get to know the person that they're supporting, with their dollars, but also with their time.
Right.
So there's a lot more to it. There's a lot more connection than there was back in the 80s or even the 90s. So
that's really a very important point.
I was kind of wondering about it, but I wasn't afraid of it because I just don't know how else to be. And I guess luckily people do. That authenticity and that honesty resonates with people today,
right.
More so than it would have maybe in the past, because they couldn't check it in the past.
Because you have questions about military preparedness. You have questions about, you hear about diversity and DEI stuff. And I mean, there are these, we've talked about them before on this broadcast. It's happening in the military and it's been going on for quite a long time. We're just really now seeing the full breadth of it. Talking with my friend Jack Carr, whose latest book, In the Blood, in the Jack Reese series. And of course, you got to watch the premiere of The Terminal List, brought to life, starring Chris Pratt, directed by Antoine Fuqua, on Amazon Prime, July 1st. You also have Taylor Kitsch in this, Riley Keough, Elvis's granddaughters. I'm sorry. I know she's like a powerful actress in her own right, but that was like really cool for me to see.
Yeah, she just got a huge award in another project in Europe, and she's just fantastic in this role. Everybody was so great, and everyone was so normal. That's the other thing. People look at Hollywood and they think everyone's all crazy, but everyone was so normal. The stars were normal, right. And then the 350 other people that are making it happen on set, just good Americans. So one of my takeaways from set was that, hey, when someone sees an actor get up in the Academy Awards and say something that might not resonate with the middle of the country, that might be a little out there, and people say, I'm never going to watch their movie again. I think it's important to remember that there are 350 other people that were working at. And these are people that came up to me in Video Village, where I'm watching the show and I'm listening and I'm making my notes as we're filming, and they'd stop by and they'd want to talk about Land Cruisers. They want to talk about guns. They want to talk about knives. They want to talk about hunting. They want to talk about motorcycles, and they were just normal people that want to do the best job they possibly can. And on a production like this, they are the best. That's why they're there, and they're all so good at their specific job. But they're also just good people who want to put food on the table for their family and have a great life.
I love that.
And so we have to remember that when we see a star go a little bit off the rails.
They're
maybe
humans
on some
too.
Yeah, that there's other people that are helping this along, and by boycotting somebody's movie, you're also kind of hurting these other people that are.
Yeah, I agree with that. And if they're good actors and if the art is good, I'm like, I like good stories. And I feel like we've had an absence of really good stories on the screen. And so this is one of the reasons I'm so excited about this. I wanted to get, Jack, your thoughts too, because I know that you've spoken about this. And this is also, you're an expert of many things. I have to point this out to, if people didn't know it already. The incidents that we've been seeing, like Uvalde, which we just saw, an unlocked door. Thankfully, in Alabama, there was such an incident like this that could have been an atrocity, but it was stopped by a locked door and responsive police. There's a lot of hesitancy in D.C. to, for whatever reason, harden schools, to add more layers of school security. I don't know why that's not a focus. I kind of wanted to get your thoughts on that, because this is your wheelhouse, and I think that people like you know this better than anybody else.
Well, it just seems like applying common sense, and what Karl von Clausewitz said was most important. He wrote On War. Most important of a battlefield leader was common sense. Wasn't anything else. It wasn't all these other things. It was common sense and applying that to the problem set. So if we look at this problem set, and let's just say that the debate about things, Second Amendment concerns, let's just put that over here and think that we'll let that get debated elsewhere. What can we do right now? What should we have been doing the last 20 years, 25 years, if we go back to Columbine and we see our most precious and softest targets out there, and we continue to leave them as a soft target year after year after year and take no action other than maybe a security monitor here or there. Yet the same people that are calling to take away our guns are surrounded by people carrying guns. And what do they have? Access points into these courthouses, into the Capitol buildings, into state houses. They have access points. They have metal detectors. They have things like that. So there are all sorts of layers of security that you can put in place. And I think that people just don't understand the problem set and don't want to apply common sense to it. They want to politicize it right away. But what that's doing is just leaving our softest targets, our most precious resource, our children, undefended, and leaving them as a soft target out there. Putting up a sign that says no guns, no drugs on campus, that doesn't cut it. And we've proven that time and time again. What can we do? There are so many things. Just look at what's already out there. Look at what they would do to the president's kids if he had someone.
Yeah, look at that school in Alabama. I mean, that worked. That guy was on the premises like 2 minutes before a cop was on him, and that guy went for the cop's gun, and cop dropped him.
And the resources. I mean, we put a man on the moon in 1969. We just had $100 billion for COVID relief, of which I think 90% wasn't even spent. What can we do? Oh, we can look at a courthouse, and we can apply that model to our schools. We can do this. This is America. We can do it. We did it after 9/11 with TSA and our airports, and we can do that. We need to do that to our schools, and that we haven't is, it's criminal that we have not.
I agree. And I completely agree. Jack Carr, latest book, In the Blood, July 1st. I know what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be watching the series of this starting on Amazon Prime with Chris Pratt. And Jack Carr, thank you so much, not just for your service, but for writing an engaging story that doesn't matter where you come from. Doesn't matter if you haven't served and you maybe have only spent, like a couple times a year at the range. A character that puts you in it, that you can identify with, and you are so good at writing what you know. We are right there with you, and we feel like we are just as expert in this as you are. That is a talent. So congratulations, my friend, on the bestseller. Thanks so much for joining me. We'll talk again soon.
Thanks so much. Take care out there.
Take care.